How come none of the articles said that it was a boy attacking a girl? How come half the people here kept switching between he and she? And again, I have nothing against any type of community, but what's right is right and what's fair is fair, and that's not cool. And if this kid was protected simply because they were trans and not because of any other reason, that's not cool. They have a violent past.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do a reaction about something that it's not funny. This is not going to be a funny reaction. I'm serious today. As you see, I actually put on something a little bit more serious because I'm starting to really lose it, if that makes sense. And you'll see why when I show you what we're going to discuss today, because this cannot continue the way it is continuing. And I think, remember on my last reaction, I told you when a person dresses a certain way, people tend to have certain reactions and certain types of respect. So in regards to those attorneys who or that attorney who showed up, or that teacher who showed up dressed that way, I'm showing you when I dress a certain way, it's going to come off in a different way, as well as my tone and my demeanor towards this particular situation. So with that, I want to again thank you so much for joining my channel and helping me raise awareness around these specifically issues around the transgender community and some of the things that are being put out there that are so dangerous and detrimental not only to the trans community but to society in general, and specifically children. So today I'm going to talk about this particular situation that happened at Pennbrook Middle School that is just, I just feel so upset about it for many reasons, but one being that I have a kid who's in middle school, and I know what goes on in middle school, and I was in middle school as we all were, but today things are a lot different. And today we have what you love to call trans kids, and everyone's trying to accommodate these young people's space because they're obviously struggling with some stuff. But what's happening is everyone is moving over for these trans kids, and nobody's having a conversation around the kids who are left to sort of deal with these trans kids. And one of the things I notice about this particular story that we're going to talk is that a lot of the media, specifically the left-leaning media, is not even talking about it. So that says to me, what is going on? Why are they not having... I was looking for research on this, and I could only find pretty much right-leaning news sources. And I don't understand why no left-leaning news sources are having the conversation. This is a very, very important conversation. That being said, also I notice a lot of these people are leaving out the very important part of this child who did this particular thing identifies as a trans girl. But a lot of the media is leaving it out and just calling them a girl. This is a biological boy who identifies as a girl and has become and did the most insane, destructive, disgusting thing to another student. I'm going to parlay into this right now because obviously I'm all over the place because I'm just so upset about this. So here's a Pennbrook Middle School, okay? And in Pennbrook Middle School, there is a trans girl. And this trans girl, who's 13 years old, created a hit list of girls that they were going to attack, murder, hurt. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And so one of the girls I'm going to show you here, I think she was second on the hit list, brought it to the attention of the middle school's principal and counselors and said, this person has a hit list against other people. They keep calling her she, okay? Even the students are being very respectful towards the student calling, but you can see, you're going to see in this little girl's sort of testimony towards the school board where she keeps going back, calling her Mel, he, and then she. So it's very apparent that this kid did identify as a trans kid, but it's funny to me that the media isn't even talking about that. So here's a hit list from this trans girl called Mel, and Mel decides that she's going to make a hit list, and then in the during lunchtime, I guess it was, this person said they were going to hurt somebody. So what happens at lunchtime after the students went and told everybody who's an adult that this is going to happen? And the adults are like, don't worry, this isn't going to happen. It happened. The trans girl beat the crap out of another girl. First off, she completely came from behind, which is so gross. And it's a Stanley cup, one of those big, heavy metal Stanley cups, and just started wailing on this 12-year-old girl, blood squirting everywhere. All the other students are watching this in horror. Supposedly, it was going on for a long time before any adults showed up. This girl's head is split open, ended up going to the hospital, having stitches put in her head. Oh my God, what? What? That trans girl who happens to be a biological boy, there's the aggression that we keep telling you in the sexes. Men and women, boys and girls are different. I don't care how you identify. I don't care what you call yourself. There is a difference in biology. And this just shows you. This kid is struggling with some. So why do all the other kids have to deal with this person's struggle, whatever that struggle is, gender, some kind of mental illness, something's going on, but everyone has to move aside for this one transgender kid, and everyone is now completely mortified. These kids are going to live with that vision in their head for a long time. So let me just show you this first clip of this very, very, very brave young girl talking about this incident. It's actually mind-blowing.
Wednesday morning, I went to the guidance counselor and told her, since I was second on the hit list, knowing that there was something going to happen, because there was a girl she was targeting every day at lunch, and they would go to the counselor and tell them every day that this is going to happen. And Wednesday, I went with 2 others, and each of us filled out a whole paper full of what's going to happen and why it's going to happen. And then I went to chorus, and I was told, watch your back. He is going to come for you and this other girl at lunch. And when I was at lunch, I was terrified, and I told Miss Vittori that that was happening, and she said, don't worry about it, it's not going to happen. But, and early that morning, I was told I was not going to see Mel for the rest of that week. But I was in lunch, and all of a sudden I just hear all this screaming and everybody running, and I see Mel running in after somebody, and everyone's screaming and running, but the girl who got attacked didn't see it because she was face backwards, and all of a sudden you just hear these terrible, like, loud bangs of the Stanley bouncing off her head. And then you see Mel grabbing her hair and hitting her against the table and just repeatedly hitting her with the Stanley. There was blood going everywhere. I was the table right behind it, and all you see is blood everywhere. And it was just, and then you say in your email that it was 8 minutes, but we timed it, it was 28 minutes. And we had to sit in there and watch them clean up her blood off those tables and ground. And we had to watch them take her out with blood dripping down her face. And I will never forget that. And laying in bed last night, I just kept repeating it in my head, and we shouldn't have had to sit there and just watch them clean up her blood with the mop. Watch her repeatedly yelling that I'm gonna murder you and just hitting her with a Stanley. And I don't get how, that you couldn't have stopped it. It was 5 hours from when I told you it was gonna happen and when it happened. It was 5 whole hours. I don't get how you couldn't have stopped that. And how Miss Vittori said, don't worry, it's not gonna happen. We have her under control. But clearly you didn't.
Wow. I mean, it's just that they subjected young people to this. Why? Were people scared to say anything because that kid identified as a trans girl? You see what's happening here? For some reason, the trans kids are being favored over everybody else. This is out of control. This is not okay. As a trans person, I'm telling you, this is not okay. This is wrong. Look, are you listening to these little kids and what they're telling you? This is going to get worse unless we actually stop it now and confront this situation the way it needs to be confronted. I don't care that this kid identified as trans. This kid has some serious, serious mental illness problems that we need to address. And this kid should be nowhere near other kids. You heard it. I don't even need to explain it to you. That kid's explained it perfectly well. What they saw and what happened. And where are the adults? And why are we doing this? And why is the media not in any way, shape, or form talking about this kid being trans? It's 1 minute trans kids are being attacked, and when other kids are being attacked, nobody talks about it. If you don't see the imbalance here, I don't know what else to tell you. Now watch this. This is the dad. This is, I think, her dad or someone else's dad coming in. And this dude says it the way it needs to be said. I'm actually really, this is amazing what this guy does. Amazing. Because people are not going to take it anymore. People are not going to take it anymore. And you know what's going to happen? All trans rights are off the table. Trans community.
A big thing at the end of the day, whether this child who was the attacker has issues or not, a lot of it comes from your policy, your leadership, and what you do or do not accept.
Yeah.
I remember at one point you were very focused on everyone has to wear a mask. But you let all these major things go. You let sexual assaults go. You let violence go. And another thing, this was a teenage boy who beat on a little girl. All right? Call it what it is. I don't care. Don't look at me like that, Mr. Fusco. You're a father. What if that was your daughter? What if that was your daughter? And I'm sorry, I didn't want to be here. I'm here because people reach out to me. I'm here because apparently too many people are afraid to just say that. Men and women are different, all right? Whatever you want to do as an adult, God bless you, that's fine. You have that right. But let kids be kids. Let them make that decision later in life when it's appropriate, all right? Men and women are not the same. Our hormones are not the same. Our strength is not the same. Our aggression is not the same. How come none of the articles said that it was a boy attacking a girl? How come half the people here kept switching between he and she?
Oh
and again, I have nothing against any type of community, but what's right is right and what's fair is fair, and that's not cool. And if this kid was protected simply because they were trans and not because of any other reason, that's not cool. They have a violent past.
He just took all the words out of my mouth. And you think that person doesn't have the right to say that after this situation? I, as a trans person, I'm going to say they have every right to say that. And in fact, I would say that. Men and women, boys and girls are different. This kid is a biological boy. His aggression is obvious. He beat on a girl. If that kid identified as a boy and beat on that girl, it would be a different story. And you and I both know that. But because this kid identifies as a girl, it's just like supposedly okay. This happened. What is happening? No, 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 no. These are children. Children, people. What are we doing? We're not only ruining the trans space, we are ruining it for society, okay? We cannot let this stuff happen. This is inappropriate behavior on all parts. This child needs help. We are not helping this child. So now other children got completely destroyed because everyone is too scared to say what this guy just said. And this is what happens when people do not live by truth and facts. This is what happens. Thanks so much for watching. I'm just appalled that this is happening in our world today and that we are subjecting young people to some insanity of you can be whatever you need to be. You can be an animal, you can be a zizem, you can be a 500 different neopronouns. We are adding to their mental distress by giving them such an open field of anything. Where are the adults? Step up, people. Step up before we have a massive amount of mental illness in children on our hands. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys all in the next one. That was really rough. Have a beautiful day.